All right, welcome. So today is Continuum. Continuum in our series is once a month. We try to go deep into the mindset because I have learned over the years that people that are learning new skills, and most of our time and energy is spent on the skill set side of things to get better at what we think of as our primary core skill. It's kind of like going to the gym and always doing upper body workout because you want to have a great chest and arms and never doing legs. Scientifically, you can't build upper body strength if you ignore your legs in the same way. You have to have a balance of the upper and the lower. And as much as I hate leg days, right? If I don't do that, I'm not gonna get the upper body strength that I want over time. And let's face it, legs are kind of important in day-to-day, mobility. So today we're going to talk about balance. We're pulling a 2013 event forward. Actually, we're going to watch a couple of videos today, maybe if I can get that to work properly.
Did you hit record, Todd? Because you hadn't at the
I,
start.
I did.
Okay.
Yes, I have.
I
I
just
hit.
wanted to
I
make
hit the
sure.
record. Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you again. No, it's very much worth the ask because I hate going backwards on that. But again, if you always focus on skill and without the mindset, you'll find over time you'll get better and better at things, but you won't see yourself growing in the same way. You won't see yourself taking the risk. You won't see yourself looking and adapting in new ways. And then today we're going to talk about a skill that I've found incredibly valuable that I use weekly still to this day. It was one of the, if I took, two or three things away in my 5 years doing strategic coach training back when I was an entrepreneur 15, 20 years ago, this would be in the top three. And it's a simple question that you can ask to frame how you can be valuable to a client, how you can be valuable to a partner, et cetera. And I'm going to ask you that question today because I'm going to ask you in the context of how can I be valuable to you, just so it doesn't seem like an exercise in futility. So let's go. Let's play around here. Um, Everybody see the yield presentation? Good, good. All right. So all that is not given is lost. Was the theme for this particular event, May 20th, 2013. So we go back in the archives. I won't go through all these with you, but for those of you who've been in the game for a while, you know we have 10 commandments to working with others in an effective way. Many folks have adapted or adopted these within their branch, within their company, and at whatever level you're playing the game. They'll be here because I'll post this recording up after we're done. I'm going to throw some things into the pot. We're always making cake. And when we make cake, you throw in lots of different ingredients and you never know what you're going to get. So I'm going to throw in a quote: to know and not to do is not to know. All right. Ingredient one: to know and not to do is not to know. Why is that Chinese proverb poignant in the context of what we're talking about right now? If you know something, oh, I know I need to call on more fill in the blank. I know I need to follow up with my clients. What's the gap between that and what they're saying here?
The experience of actually doing it.
That's right. To know mentally and not to actually act is not to know because the acting is not the same. It's never the same. And if you've done it before and you think if I do it again, it's going to be the same, I'm going to tell you, guess what? That's not true either. If you get in your car, we used to get in our car on Fridays after work and go to Blockbuster with the kids. All right, remember that to get a video, a VCR, or a DVD or whatever over time. Um, I could say we do that every Friday, but guess what? Technically, every Friday was different. Different situation, different conversations, different ages of the kids, different movie. There's a lot. We can see everything as the same, or we can see everything as different. But one of the problems with knowing something is you start to take certain things for granted. You believe it's the same. I know if I call on that realtor, she won't call me back. That's an example of where knowing is not the same as doing, because the only way you'll know this time is if you make that call. And she may not call you back, or she may call you back, right? But if you know and you don't do, you don't know. And we built a framework around our mentor program. Information is the what. We've never in my history had as much access to information as we do right now. It's literally pouring out of the seams. Now, knowledge is when you take that information and you know how to use it. This is a really interesting dynamic when you think about the stuff we've been talking about with AI, right? Because if information is everywhere and you have access to it, in some ways you could say AI is creating a capacity for how that didn't exist. As we showed in our call on Thursday, was it Thursday? No, that was Tuesday. Tuesday afternoon, we did a call. It was a small number of folks were able to join us, but Chris Freck had asked about building a case study, and he sent me a prompt. And we actually took a prompt from nothing but a screenshot of a calculator and allowed AI to build an entire multi-page presentation from that calculator image. And then we built a skill around it so he could repeat it again and again. That's where you take information and suddenly the how to do something, when you learn that skill, it's a game changer. Because any of you can take that skill that I posted with that video and build some of the most elegant case studies you've ever built in your life with nothing but a single screenshot of a calculator and a prompt talking about what you'd like to see in that case study. Now, in the context of what we just said, wisdom only becomes wisdom when you take that knowledge and act on it. Meaning, I can tell you what I just told you about this incredible call we had and this skill that you could paste into Claude and the ability to go build really elegant case studies for your clients. And you're still at the what level? There's information that we had a call. There's knowledge that there's a how to use that in this call, but you have to go grab that skill, watch enough of the video to understand what we were talking about, and then actually engage it. And when you engage it, I got a note from Roland this morning that was like, mind blown. What I can do now with that skill is a game changer for me, right? Because he went, he watched it, and he started actually using it. Now, understanding, this is the line that I'm going to tell you you can never cross with another human being. I can tell you all this stuff, but when you actually act on it and you build, if Dan goes out and builds a cool case study on a reverse mortgage for a client, and he's like, holy cow, this is cool. I could actually go back and use and build 10 case studies from prior reverse mortgages. I could take every reverse mortgage I've ever done and build it into a cool case study now. When he's done that, Dan's understanding about that will be different from mine. We can talk about it. There'll be similar what? Information we can share, knowledge we can share, wisdom even from the action, but I can't give you my understanding. Dan can't give me his understanding once he's done that act. But the act itself is critical. It's critical. And as I've told all of you, I will constantly share my information, knowledge, and wisdom. And the only failure we say in this program is the failure to engage. And I see it week after week. People come into the program, they'll stay for 3 months, 6 months. And the ones that act on this stuff, it's life-changing. They see all kinds of things happen. And then I have other people, and it's always an excuse. I just haven't had the time to what? Engage. It's like literally, it's like a broken record. Every email is the same. It's some version of I wouldn't, I didn't, I couldn't engage. I'm like, well, that's fine. If you don't engage, guess what? You're not going to get any nutrition out of this. And food is not nutrition. Food is not nutrition. You've got to act. You've got to eat the food for it to become nutrition. You've got to act to get results and to get the benefits that we're laying out here. These are all key concepts and ideas we've gone through again and again. Now, we live in a world right now where balance is incredibly difficult. I've never seen the boat rock as fast back and forth. Another way to say that is the world is volatile right now. The left and rights are more extreme than they've ever been. The polarity is more extreme. This was a really cool video we showed back then, and I watched some of it earlier today. I was like, I still freaking love this video. So I'm going to try to show it. And this is where like I always end up needing. So I have to go in. You would think by now, oops. I just cut off my thing. I am going to share. Sound. And I am going to try to click share, and then I'm going to click this. I'm going to go to YouTube, and it's probably going to take me to another window. All right. So now I have to figure out where the heck did everybody just go, because no one's here anymore. Do you see this, John?
I'm seeing a gray screen at the moment.
You're seeing a gray screen. Oh, cool.
It looks a little pixelated.
There we go.
Ah,
Now you're seeing it?
yes.
What is balance with this?
Yep.
All right, let me know. I'm gonna hit play and just tell me. And can you hear it?
Well, we can hear it. We can't see anything happening yet.
What? Oh, that's wild. It did it in the other window. I don't know why it does this. All right, hold on. I told you it was going to be ugly. Here. All right, now you're seeing it.
Yes, sir.
All right. Hear it. Can you hear it?
Yes.
Okay, let me take it.
And yes, I remember this. It's very cool.
Un solo cuerpo, 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 un solo cuerpo,
How's that for an example of balance? Not bad. So what'd you see? What stood out to you about that particular example of balance? We said balance is sort of hard these days. There's a lot going on in the world around us. But anything stand out to you?
Patience.
Patience. What else?
Focus, practice.
Focus and practice. Obviously, that wasn't the first time she's done that. So there's
I
the
would
different.
say the word accumulation kind of comes to mind.
Hmm.
There's a cumulative sequence every time the balance is the same, but the stakes get a little higher every time.
Absolutely. First time I saw that, I did not expect when she took that feather off for that the whole thing to come. You could see just the fragility at one level of the balance. We know how easy it is to walk into a day with a plan and what one little thing, the balance can be just like that.
Mm.
That little feather gets taken off, everything just goes in a different direction. What else? I love stuff like that because it's visceral in that this can stay with you. Like, it's very state specific, but it can stay with you when the next time you feel out of balance. Just think about this particular experiencing. One thing that was very much true, if you think about when and this is me talking for myself here, I noticed that one of the things that helps me a lot is pacing. Let's see now, how do I get back to everybody where I can see all your faces again? Huh. Where the hell did everybody go? This is where I cannot quite figure out when Zoom does this and I click share, I can see you. All right, when I click share, I share the presentation. Yeah, you guys all go away. That's the weirdest thing. Anybody know how you get people back after sharing?
You're not going to get rid of us that easy, Todd.
I know. It's like I know you're there.
Todd, you see at the top there's tabs. One says Todd Ballinger screen, one says meeting. Do you maybe go click on meeting tab at the top, or is that just what we see?
It's weird. I don't see it. So when I go
Or
to
go in the top right, there's a view. It says
View, yeah,
recording view.
yeah.
You click on view, and there's different
view,
gallery
all right, let's see
arrangements.
view speaker. Oh, that's speaker. Yeah, I was on gallery, but the
Yeah,
second
go to
the second I share, it's like you guys all disappear. Tell you what, I may try doing this now. That shares my whole damn screen. Oh well, this is why I hate share. I always have this trouble with
choose gallery view.
content only. Oh, here. Let me turn off. There we go. You have to turn off the optimized video for sharing. Okay.
Mm.
I can just remember that. So for me, you kind of have to figure out, what's your drug of choice. For me, it's speed. When I'm moving really fast, it's an easy way to get out of balance. And one of the things I can do is just slow down. And when I slow down, it's amazing how things kind of start to right themselves. So one way, you can check in on that is David Biden says, be here now, be somewhere else later, right? Like if you're here right now, but you're checking email, you're thinking about other things or whatever, again, you might as well not be here. You're not really here, right? You're split. And this is true in your day. When you're finding yourself split all over the place, slow down and ask yourself, what would have happened to that performer if she tried to live her life the way many of us try to live our lives, fractured, trying to do three things at the same time? Doesn't work. Now, as we like to say, we're in a business, and our definition of business is capital, and that could be intellectual, personal, all kinds of different forms of capital, financial. There's some kind of doingness in the form of a service or a product. With our work, it's mainly service-based, but we monetize what we do with a product, and we do that for customers, clients, people that we work with. So there's a balance between the capital you deploy and the customers you serve. If you think of this as a seesaw and a fulcrum, this engagement, how you choose to spend and invest your time has a huge impact on your returns. Much like I can't give you my understanding, you can never really know how a person perceives you from a value standpoint. When you support a customer, you may think the value that you provide them is getting them a loan. They may think something completely different. They may view you and what you're doing as helping them with an existential fear they have about being able to afford a house, and what does that mean to them as a parent or a breadwinner, right? Just like you can't transfer understanding, it's really hard to transfer how people value you. Part of the reason I love the question we're going to look at today, which is called the RDOS question, is it helps you to sort of flip how people might value you so you know how to focus your attention in a different way. Okay? So, when you're in business, you are deploying your ass/assets for some kind of a return. So I want you to think for a minute. What is the asset that you spend most of your time deploying in a given day? Is it money? Are you spending a lot of money all day long to do what you do? Is it time? Is it experience? Is it knowledge, know-how? Is it connections? Is it a capacity that you have? Just seriously for a minute, think about it for yourself. What is the majority of the day that you spend on a typical day? What asset is your number one asset that makes you money as a business owner? I'll give you 60 seconds. Shouldn't be hard, because today we're almost through the day. We're almost through a week. You can ask yourself, well, what was it like today, and how different is that from my week and month and year? Because we know this stuff's all fractal. How you spent the last hour is fractal for probably how you spent the day at some level. And the day that you just invested in was probably fractal for the week that you were involved with. All right, throw out one of your top number one things. Run around, give me a couple. What's your main asset that you deploy for your return daily, and what you do as a business owner?
I put in attention and emotion into the chat, but then when I really stopped and thought about it, I think the word I landed on was imagination.
Mm-hmm. Cool. I like it. So a lot of your day is spent imagining for other people, I assume, and for yourself.
Yeah, imagining how do people come into this process? How do they make decisions? How are they feeling? How does my process attend that? So I'm constantly in a state of imagining and envisioning the process for people.
Cool. Thank you. What else? What's the asset you use most of the day, Jackie, when you're doing your thing?
When I'm doing it right, it would be, like for example, earlier this week, I spent the better part of a day and a half just exploring the perfect loan for these clients. I felt a little like I spent too much time. Sometimes I overanalyze, but at the end of the day, I actually found the better product that no one else would have. Somebody that would have taken the loan to their favorite lender, done 5 minutes, moved on to the next. But I actually found a loan it was a non-QM full doc loan, priced way better than a conforming full doc.
Yeah.
And I felt pretty proud about that.
That's awesome. So exploration, I heard creativity in there, persistence, How about you, David?
Mhm.
Yeah, what came to mind was connection, and that kind of was multi-layered.
Mhm.
Thinking back on my week, connecting with other professionals, so spending time with them, having a coffee or lunch, and then also the connection that we try to make with a client to,
Awesome.
have them trust us.
Yeah, and again, as a fractal thing, connection could be the connecting people with money, connecting people with other people, connecting people within your business. That's a cool and we'll call it critical function of what you do, man. How about you, Dan, the mortgage man?
I like James's response, so I'm going to take it, but not
Okay.
the imagination, but the attention part, because
Yeah.
I am constantly pulled 20 million different directions and often not business wise, and let myself get distracted. And so being able to actually focus and be attentive to what needs to be done seems
Awesome.
to be the most important thing for me.
Yeah,
Well,
Dan and I were part of a mastermind yesterday with our local group, and we talked about focus. I was thinking, and how we all have the same amount of time in the day, and some of us get a lot more done within that time. And the difference is just ability to focus for a sustained period of time on the right things. So that attention is a big part of it.
yeah. So attention, we talk a lot about, I'm a big attention fan. What was a common denominator of all the stuff that you guys just shared compared to, say, other industries, other workers? But I mean, this is, in the world that we're in, most of what you're actually utilizing through a typical day is your knowledge, your experience, and we're just going to call it, it's a mental asset, right? So when I say skills and mindset, I mean most of your day, the way you frame what you do to yourself is critically important. Both the skill of it and the way you think about what you do can have a huge impact on how you're perceived and valued by other people. But we're not in a raw materials kind of a business. The asset that we're in is a knowledge business. It's one of the reasons that things like AI, when you create a bionic capacity for knowledge workers, and you're in the knowledge worker business, it becomes a real, we'll call it a force multiplier, although that's been used a lot lately, but it's what it is. So we've talked a lot about the nature of attention. If you have no air and you're suffocating, what's the most important thing in the world to you at that particular time? It's going to be getting air. I guarantee you. And then once you've got air, the next thing you worry about when you're surviving is water and then food and shelter. This is Maslow needs hierarchy 101. And then once you've got the first four, you start actualizing, but a lot of actualization has to do with money. If you don't have money, you don't have time, you don't have a lot of control. So a lot of our ecosystem is sort of built around this. We focus on, because we have air, water, food, and shelter, we spend a lot of our time focused on money and time, right? More money to control time, more time to control more money. It's just kind of an interesting cycle, but it's where we spend a lot of our time. We then, on top of that, are in an industry where what? The actual business that we're in is money and borrowing, assets, liabilities. The one thing I can tell you is that which you focus on expands. That which you attend to expands. It's true of relationships. It's true of capacities. I've never found a case where this isn't true. And I've been staring at it now for years and years and years. We use an aperture metaphor quite a bit for that reason. At this particular event, we watched some videos of this guy making all of these rock sculptures. It is truly, I'll put it in the comments when I post up the video for this, but it's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. I don't have time to do this today, but this guy, watching how he takes and builds these massive sculptures of rock balanced on a single stone is just truly amazing. So we know the mind is incredibly flexible, and I'm going to challenge you with a question today that I want you to ask yourself, and also it's as an exercise. When I post up the PowerPoint, this is something you can do with partners, something you can do with yourself. It's something you use every day with your clients. But let me take someone here. Let's see, Shane, since you're new here today. Just if you can at the top of this, just read that out loud for us, starting at the top.
Starting out where it says good example.
Well, you can do that. Yeah, you can
Above
start there. Yeah,
above that.
yeah.
Let's see. F1 GUR 47-1 V31Y, or I guess you could say figuratively speaking. Good example of a brain study. If you can read this, you have a strong mind. This message shows to prove how your
Yeah.
minds can do amazing things, impressive things. In the beginning, it was hard, but now on this line, your mind is reading it automatically without even thinking about it. Be proud, only certain people can read this. Please forward if you can read this.
So cheesy ending, sorry, but nicely done there. And what's fascinating is if you, and you, I knew you hadn't seen this before, but literally as you started reading, your mind was adapting to a new language. And once you started to get it, because you started out F1G, the first time I saw it, it's like F1G or what the hell? Once I saw it was figuratively speaking, it was like there's a codex now for what? Going, wait a minute, I don't even know how I could read this, but it just, you don't even have to think about it by the time you get near the bottom. It's like, in a way, your mind is adapting. It's doing that all the time. We just don't see it. We don't have that opportunity to see reflectively how that's happening. And that's based on one of the key elements of mind is reticular activation. So anytime I show you something you haven't seen before, it's hard to imagine the implications over time of just watching a video of someone balancing something like that and how that actually starts to retrain your mind to think about balance differently, movement differently. You'll forget about it proverbially in a day or two, yet it's never forgotten. It's always there. So we have a rubric: beliefs, attitudes, behaviors, results, values. We've done whole multi-hour conversations on these particular dynamics. But the one thing that I'm going to ask you right now is, a year from today, who is it important for you to design your ideal life for? And what would you like to be, do, and have? This, when we ask this in our mentor sessions, we've asked in our prior things, this is creating a framework around what's called the RDOS conversation. You're essentially creating time. You're asking someone to imagine themselves a year from now. And the only way you can answer this question, what would I like to be, do, or have? What would I like my life to be like? What would be meaningful a year from now if we were having this conversation again? What would need to be different for you to feel good about us being together in a relationship, in a partnership, in a school, in whatever? The only way you can answer that is to frame into that gap, spackle it with what? I say to you, Shane, 1 year from now, seriously, 1 year from now, you and I are having lunch. And we've been working together for the last year. Give me one thing that if this were different for you, it would make our relationship one of the most powerful relationships in your life right now.
Something was different between the relationship between me and you, make it
Yeah,
one of the most
no,
powerful.
if this was 1 year from now, if this happened, because we're in a partnership together, what would that one thing be that would be like, man, we had a great year?
Um, allowing me to do or getting me in a position where I can do more volume with less time so I can spend more time with my family and doing the things that I really enjoy.
Okay, that's fascinating for two reasons. So, first off, when I say to Shane a year from now, tell me what that would be like. The only way he can construct a response is to share what's important to him right now. You follow me? Because if you don't get that, the whole thing is not going to make as much sense to you. You have things you want, but a lot of times they're very difficult to get at. Okay. So when you're asking, and we're going to unpack the RDOS question, so it's a very simple question. It can be with your spouse, it can be with your kids. I used to ask my kids, I said, you're 14. Tell me a year from now when you're 15, what's really important to you? And of course, these things change over time, but what they tell you is what they really want right now, in some way. And what they've given you is a key to a relationship developing opportunity. Unless Shane was just totally bullshitting me, if I can help him make more money and spend less time making money in the future, he's going to be like, okay, what? I'm happy. I am happy. But if I asked you, Shane, what would make you happy right now? Or there are a lot of different ways I could ask that, but it's very difficult to get at it. And you also kind of have to be like, well, why are you asking me that? It's a weird question. So this creates a sort of a gap for somebody to fill it with something that's really important to you. So if we were doing this now, the lifestyle conversation, we would ask, a year from now, what's important for you to have in your life? And if you really took the time to fill in this blank space with what's really important, most likely these are things you feel you don't have now, that you want more of in the future, which is like saying, I want more of this, what? Right now. Okay. And that tells me a lot about how to spend people. Now, what's really fascinating is, and I think I heard this first from Tony Robbins, and then I heard it again from somebody else, but it was basically 90% of the people will frame their response around an idea of something they want more of and something they want less of. And the most common is they want more money and they want more time, which means they want what? Less effort to make the same money. That's why I took this marketing class one time, and they just basically said, if every message that you put out into the world from a marketing perspective is essentially showing someone that they get more of what they want and they have to put less effort into getting what they want, that's it. That's what everybody is really, it's like the sort of the one size fits all marketing message. So if you ever have a, God, what the hell should I say today? Or I want to get somebody to come to my real estate event or whatever, starting with that framework and working backwards, saying what do realtors want more of and what would they like to have what? Less of to get that. You've got a great framework for a message. And Shane just did a great job of saying, hey, I'd love more money and I'd love more time, or I'd love less effort to get there. Our whole model originally was around that. Sales and marketing, people, process, money, finance, lifestyle, and legacy. And at the heart of all this, we used to say was leverage, because leverage is one of the most important ways to get where you want to go. So I want to look at this DOS question, and I shared it with you, but it's really simple. If I was going to be with you 1 year from today, looking back, what would you want to have happened for us to feel great about our time together as a partner, as a spouse, as a parent? I don't care what it is. If you want one of the simplest ways to elicit what's really important to somebody, it's that question, because it's very disarming. It's very sort of non-threatening. And it gets you to what you want more than anything, which is, how's this person going to value me? Remember what I said about value? It's like understanding. I really don't know what Shane values in my relationship with him, but in his answering that, I now know that, okay, if I don't believe I can do that, one, I should refer that Shane, to somebody else, right? If a client said to you, I want the cheapest, lowest mortgage rate possible. I don't care at all about your advice or anything else. That's the type of thing where if that's really what they value, I'd say to them, and I've had clients say that before, and I'd say, that's awesome. I know someone that you should talk to. That's all he does. He just focuses on the lowest possible rate. He doesn't have time for advice or anything else, but he'll get you that because what? That's not what I do. And I'm saying that because Shane won't value me if a year from now, you won't be here a year from now. If he is at what? Making more money and finding that he's picking up time. He's able to do what it is that he wants to do in less time in the future. And we all have equivalences of that, but it's really important. Now, the DOS, this is called the RDOS conversation. The R is, how could I get to the absolute core of what someone values in me or would value in me in a relationship in one question? That's the R. It's the relationship question 1 year from now. Now, the DOS part of it is, here's what that tells you. That person's response is scary because they know intuitively there are dangers to them getting what they want. But there's opportunities if they do get what they want. And they probably wouldn't even sort of dream about that if they didn't believe it was possible, meaning they have some strengths that could make this happen. So the DOS part of it is, if you could just get the question answered, it tells you a lot. But the next opportunity for me, I'm just modeling this with Shane, would be to ask him specifically, what are the dangers or the fears of him not accomplishing that? Like, what's he going to lose if he doesn't do that? Or what's the cost? Or where does he in his own mind know that I often get tripped up because I do this or that? And then if we could do this together, what would it make possible? Like, what would life be like if you were making twice the money and you were working 15, 20 hours a week? There's some opportunities, and that's the excitement part. And then there's some strength that he has to imagine that he has, right? Or he wouldn't even have this dream. And all of us have this, but this is something, again, you can use it in your own life, but you can use it in the conversations you have with other people. And
Could you
talk a
go
lot
back
about
to this?
confidence.
Could you go back to the strengths, Todd? Like,
Sure.
I was able to understand, like, okay, what happens if if the thing you said, this is what I want to occur, what happens if it doesn't happen, right? What is the cost?
Yeah.
And if it does happen, what does it enable? I see that. And then, like, but the third thing is, like, what is it about you that will allow this to be possible? Is that kind of like,
yeah, exactly.
kind of
So if I said, so in different ways said, okay, Shane, tell me about like what do you know about yourself that's most likely to get in the way of this happening for you? Like, what are the things you have to overcome? And then I said, Shane, if you could do this, blah, blah, blah. Now, Shane, you probably believe this is possible. What do you believe makes this a possibility for you right now? If a year from now you were making 20, 30% more money and you were working 20 or 30% less time, what gives you the confidence that this is a possibility?
I'm actually thinking of deploying this in my like buyer presentation somehow,
Oh,
just
it
like
is.
at the beginning.
This is when I did the strategic coach, I put this in my buyer's conversation. I asked them, I said, look, and I would say 45 days from now when this loan is closed, okay, what would need to happen for you to feel incredible about the time that we just spent together? And people would tell me it was everything from I moved into the house, like that was it, or we bought the house and I feel like we can handle the payments and I feel confident about the situation we're in, or I bought a rental property and it's positively cash flowing, or that I got the lowest rate. And that's where I would have to unpack it and say, well, what would the lowest rate mean to you? Because that's not what I mean. We're competitive, but I just want to know, if you had the lowest rate, what would that mean? Oh, it would mean cash flow. Well, what would that mean? You just keep asking, what would that mean? You eventually get there. But this is the same thing. And then you can simply say to someone, okay, So if you want to close on this house on time and you want to feel confident about your finances, what do you think is the biggest obstacle to that happening? And that's where you're getting at the dangers. And I actually, in the example I'm going to give you, um, you can kind of see some examples here. This is if you don't do this, what will you lose? What would this make possible? How would this be possible? That's another way of saying this, right? So, and that's all you're doing is you're just literally mining for what would be your biggest fear about this thing not closing or this, I want this house, right? The stuff falls through. Okay. So we got to make sure what we overcome those particular fears. Why is this so exciting for you, James? Why is buying this house for your family so exciting to you? Right? And you hear him say it. Well, it's a neighborhood we've always wanted to live in.
Yeah.
That's telling you what.
I'm trying to get my kid into this school. I just had a conversation this morning about a young family, and they're just like fed up with their schools. Their kids are in first and third grade, and they're like, we gotta get out of here. So I
Absolutely.
guess that's more the
No, that's
they're getting away from something.
That's
They're
the
not really going
danger, but
towards
it's
something.
also the excitement. This is the funny
Yeah.
thing. The dangers and the excitement I find is like a seesaw. They're connected. They seem different, but the danger of not doing this is X, for them. They don't get to buy this house. But then the excitement is new neighborhood, new friends, better school, whatever. So it's like they're very connected. So you're
Yeah,
kind
I
of
think if
setting
you
up
can
that.
assign it, I've heard that like if you do a brain scan of someone who's having like feeling anxiety, it's the same part of your brain of excitement. If you're like going like something you're looking forward to, because it's just looking forward and not know and anticipating something, right? It's the same kind of zone.
Spot on. The fMRI studies, when they do that basic stuff, it's like it's the same center. It's just how are you perceiving it? Like this is
Right.
when we get back to the language of how do you language it to yourself. I mean, we can go to the gym and work out for an hour trying to get in better shape, and then we have to carry something to our car and we're like pissed off about it. It's like this is framing. How do you frame this stuff in your own mind when you're actually doing it and engaging it? But once you set up the seesaw, the tension, think of the dangers and the opportunities as setting up tension, because that's what it's there already, but you're elucidating tension. Now you're saying, why do you think this is possible for you to buy this house? You've saved up for it, you've thought about it, you've found it. I've got you as a resource, whatever that case may be. But you're learning a lot. People don't know if they're happy or not because they haven't established a framework. This is why when you have clients that buy a house from you or refinance or whatever, at the end of the transaction, if you were to say to them, are you happy about things? You've asked them to, in that moment, do what? Create a happiness framework from scratch and then slot it and give you a number else. If you do this first, so if we refinance this house together and 35, 45 days from now, we've closed on the house, what would need to happen for you to be happy? Well, I guess if you gave me what you just showed me, like no closing costs loan with $300 a month, and I could do this and I could pay the house off faster, I'd be terribly excited. Okay, what would be an obstacle to us getting that done? If you did do this, what's that 257 a month going to make possible for you? I think you've already said it in the early mortgage payoff. And why do you think this is possible? I mean, like at the end of the day, why do you think we can do this together? Well, I'm confident in you and I'm going to follow through. I'm going to do the paperwork. I'm going to do. So you're setting a contract up for happiness. You're setting a framework up so that when you then close, you can go back and say, how did we do? And if they say, yeah, we did everything that we laid out to say was really important. And here's the beauty. You say, now we're going to do annual reviews together once a year. So let me ask you this, a year from now, when we talk about just doing a quick review about your mortgage and what you did, what would you need to see happen for you to feel really good about that a year from now? And this is a harder question in many ways, right? But they have to answer it. And then whatever that answer is, well, I don't know. I didn't know we are going to do annual reviews. Or, well, it's interesting. I guess I'd have to feel like I'm on track for that 257 a month paying the house off early. Or I'd have to feel like I'm still comfortable being in the house and we found the school happy, but also that, that we can afford this and that, everything's working out the way we want it to. But you now have a reset. And anytime you're about to reset with that partner, with that realtor, with that financial advisor, This is a very powerful conversation and starting point with a financial advisor, an insurance agent, anyone that you're meeting with. And you say, look, I know we're sitting down for the first time. I'm gonna ask you a weird question a year from now. I've done that before, and people pointed at me and said, you're a strategic coach. Or you read Dan's book, didn't you? And I'm like, yep. He's like, I love that question. I ask my clients that question. I haven't had anyone ask me that before, but let me think about it. It's a really cool way to start a conversation if you're not sure how to start with somebody. All right. So balance is everywhere. It's hard to stay balanced. It's important. We're balancing skill set and mindset in this conversation. You got to have the mindset to want to try something new and see how it works. But then you got to develop the skill set of asking this particular question and framing it however you want to frame it in different situations on different time frames. But it's really powerful. The reason it's powerful is it just opens someone up to telling you what's most important to them right now. And that is gold for you as a service provider, as a knowledge worker. If they say to you, I want to lose 12 pounds and I want to get my blood sugar down to X, and you're like, okay, that's the equivalent to me of saying, let me figure out who to refer you to, because what? That's not what I do. I mean, I might have a few ideas. Stop eating sugar, work out, whatever. But that's not my main focus. That's not where I spend most of my time. It's not where I think of myself as an expert. Because you want what they want to be aligned with your expertise. Then you've got what? Full carte blanche to go hog wild in what you do for that particular person. Okay? So I'll post the video up. I'll post this up. There's a lot more in this deck from that particular time period, but just go through and play around with it. I've got a couple examples in here of like a realtor partner where you talk to a realtor and they say, I want to grow my book by 20, or I want to hire an assistant, was one that I got from somebody one time when I asked that question. I was like, cool. Never heard that before, but actually let's talk about that. What would happen if you don't get this assistant? They started talking about what? They're working too hard. They're not spending time with their family on the weekends. An assistant could go to the open house for them. I was like, all right, great. So that opportunities are what? It's just the opposite. I get to spend more time with my family. What's the obstacle? That I won't find somebody? I won't make this happen. How could I help you? Do you know people? Can you help me think about this? We just broke it down to what she needed to spend. She had $1,000 a month. I was like, you could hire someone part-time for 10 hours to do your open houses for $1,000 a month if that's all they did, and start with that and build up. And then she was like, God, I've never thought about just hiring someone for the weekends part-time that wants some extra money to go there and sit open houses and collect. They did that. That person ended up becoming a full-time assistant for that realtor. Because it was my aunt, who at the time was a Coldwell Banker realtor. But it was a simple conversation, but it can lead to really, really cool stuff. Okay. All right. Well, I wish you all an absolutely fantabulous weekend, whatever that means to you, and stay frosty. And hopefully next week we'll be talking a little bit more about the new stuff we talked about earlier with the tech stuff, and then we'll just keep on keeping on. All right. Have a great
Thank you, Todd.
Peace out.
See you.
Where is my thing?